Welcome, SwitchedOn crew. Dan here with today's signals around finding your authentic self. With me is Sarah Andrews, founder of Inspire PR Media. A great quote from Sarah in the episode. Beliefs are stuck. All else is moving forward. Come join us and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Today we have Sarah Andrews with us. Sarah is the director of Inspire PR Media. And as a publicist, Sarah contributes to the bridge between the audience and the media. She's also well-traveled and has an insatiable curiosity for new places and experience. I believe that's going to come out in today's podcast, so I can't wait to get into this. Welcome, Sarah. I'm excited to have you on the show. Can you give everybody a bit more info about your background beyond what I just said?
Thanks, Dan. And look, it's a pleasure being on the podcast and talking about what we're going to be talking about. So a little bit about my background. So I've done lots of different things over when I started working from a very young age of 13. But I've been a youth worker. I've worked in the mining industry. I've worked in the farming industry. I have worked in the wellness, nursing, all these different, I would say that I'm a seeker of the universe and the world, and I am very ADD, so I just love so many different things at one time and exploring things. And I think now is after I had the wellness centers and a yoga studio, we were always in like the media, in the paper. And, there was a time that I started like, well, what else could I really do to really, contribute and assist to the universe, but assist to the world too. And so the International Public Relation Company came out of that because it's quite easy for me to get into the media. So I went, okay, let's do it for other people, and other people that actually really are game changers and making a difference on the planet and in the world too. So, and here I am. And I'm in Spain with the pandemic. I'm Australian. So when I do live in Australia, I'm in Brisbane. But right now I'm not far from Malaga and in the south of Spain. It's winter, but it's sunny weather over here.
Oh, sounds fabulous. I have not spent much time in Spain myself. I was through there one time for a business meeting, but that was really it. But it was a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, as we dive in, some of the things we talked about in our pre-show and getting to know each other are really fascinating. So I want to make sure we cover a few of those topics. One of the areas is, you posed a really interesting question around, what got you to wake up from creating against yourself? And I think those words are really interesting, creating against yourself, because it's something I think subtly we all do, but we just don't realize we're doing it. So I want to hear you talk a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a great question, because a lot of times we're unaware that we're actually creating against ourselves and against what's going to create a greater future. And I know, like, my real wake-up call is I've always been a seeker. I've always been very curious about things and explore things. But I would say it was in 2013. And I remember coming back from Bali, and I had just done a yoga retreat, and I was about to buy a property and then start another yoga studio up in the north of Bali. And I actually said, I sat down and I went, there has to be more than this. There has to be more than spiritual enlightenment and all this, like, universe, like, show me, like, And so then not long after that, I started really waking up, and then my journey has really grown and really has explored even more. And what really started showing up for me is where I was creating against me and against the world, against, against a future that I always knew possible. And I think that's the one thing where being like a seeker and an explorer, I've known things have been possible. Anything's possible, right? And a lot of people would say, no, that's not true. But for me, I just knew. But things weren't showing up and things weren't going the way that I really truly knew is possible. And so when I started exploring more, like the limiting beliefs that I had about myself, limiting beliefs that I had about money, limiting beliefs that I had about the universe and other people and like that. And I mean, I'm still, that's 2013 and now we're in 2020. And, I'm still exploring it. Every day is a new journey and a new beginning every single day. And when I explore it more, and I think we talked about it yesterday, it's really about learning. It's always learning, but it was unlearning. And, where, I would do things that I was quite unaware and really creating this force of trying to make things happen. And so when I started going, well, I can create against me or I can create for me. And that actually creates, when I create for me, it creates for everyone around me too. And so when I'm truly happy in myself, that truly then ripples out to everyone else. And I think that was when, I started like seeing the more that I create for me, that there is such a more ease than trying to force things and doing things that that can really harm you. And some of the things I've done have been very unconscious, and then I've gone, oh, but the key for me was, even when I've done these things, is like, don't judge yourself, Sarah, please. Okay, you chose that, and one of my favorite question is, if I choose that, so if I choose anger, what is that going to create? And I've been, very recent, I've been really like looking at this, like looking at emotions and feelings and all like that. And, like if I choose this, like what is that going to create? And, anger, upset and drama, what is that going to create for my future, people around me and myself? And then when I started realizing, well, it's not creating what I truly know is possible, then I can choose something else, and that creates that space.
Yeah, no, it brings up so many memories and thoughts for me just listening to that, because I've thought of it in terms of not necessarily, working against myself, but I'd more thought of it in terms of realizing that, wow, there's so many cases in my life where I've tried to use force, physical force, domineering force, whatever you want to say, to make something happen, even though it wasn't supposed to happen, but I felt like, oh, I can make it happen. And those cases have always not worked out well. And in fact, a lot of bad things over time. And there's a fun example of it where I used to be a really bad driver, just somebody that drove 80 miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic, just crazy. And I had this moment of realization. So I drove that way for 15 days, 30-minute drive back and forth from work. And then the next 15 days, I drove the speed limit, never changed a lane. And I checked my time differential, and the maximum differential was 5 minutes. But in fact, the bulk of the days I was within 1 minute of it. And the crazy person driving way was so much more stressful on other people, on myself, just forcing my way, but really not getting anywhere any faster. It was really like one of
Yeah.
those moments where you're just like, what am I doing?
And it's catching yourself. So even when I say, like, you know, if I get angry or a feeling or emotion comes up, you know, I recognize, I go, well, what is this? Is this even mine? But I recognize it. And in that split second, then I have a choice to go, I can keep creating this, or I can choose something different, or I can just, remove myself. And I think I do that in business. I do that with clients. I do that in my everyday life. And I think that has really changed, like waking up. That is really like that creating with me now and for me, not against me. And, when we go into a negative mindset and we get stressed and we, contract and everything, again, a great question, like, what is this creating? And, to me, my body is my best friend. And I'm really on this journey, this pathway with my body too. And really like asking questions like, right now my body and I are having so much fun with exercising and doing weight training. I'm relearning how to skate again. And, I'm going out in nature, I'm hiking when I can. And my body, my body's eating a lot of protein. But again, it's not what I think I know or like that. I really have like this relationship with my body that is like my best friend, because, if my body goes, I, I won't
Yeah.
maybe around, but it definitely, it's really about the kindness and the caring. And sometimes, like with kindness, sometimes you've got to stand up for yourself. That is true kindness for yourself. And then other times is that real nurturing. And so that's something I've really started, really getting to be that more for my body and for myself. And recognizing when I do have my days that, I still have choice. I have choice to go down that path I call the rabbit hole, or choose something different.
Yeah. Yeah. We watched a fun documentary last night, and the man in the documentary, he kept saying over and over again, be kind and sweet to yourself, and
Mm.
give yourself the space to just be sweet to you. And it was really good because it just, it reminds you to give yourself the space to just be, and let your body just be, and not be, angry or critical or all the other things that we.
Yeah,
But I loved his be sweet, just be sweet
yeah.
to you. It was really good.
Yeah. And when we don't have space, when we contract is where we don't, when the stress comes. And even like, when stress comes, it's really like creating that space. And that's from like 2013. I really started unlearning and learning that I am space. My body is space, and the molecules and the cells are all space. And so I know when I contract, again, you talk about signals. So, when my body contracts, that's the signal for me, is that my body and myself, like, hey, hang on, what space can I be here? And so, sometimes even because I'm quite aware of other people's contractions and not having their space in their lives. So for me, it's like, okay, let's, is this actually my contraction? And if it is my contraction, then I'm brutally honest with myself. Okay, so what space can I be here? And sometimes it's just being quiet.
Yeah.
I notice for me, stop talking, Sarah.
Yeah.
Quiet. And that's when the whispers of my knowing of the universe will start tapping on my face. And that's when I can go, okay, start following the energies.
Yeah. Oh, great insight. So, as we look in the world of PR, thing I like to explore with everybody's focus is, what do you think are three or four misunderstood things about the world of PR publicity? When you talk to a new client, they come in thinking one thing, but you live the life and things are very different. What are a few of those things you'd like to highlight or tell people about?
Yeah. So I would say a lot of people don't really know what PR, public relation, is. And then a lot of people mix advertising, marketing, and public relation together.
Yeah.
So public relation is public relation. And it is about, having people. So when a client comes in, some people don't have understanding at all, or they have a fixed point of view, is this is what I want and this is how we're going to get it. So there's two ways we can explore that, and there's other clients will say, this is what I would like, what would you suggest, and where can we go from there? Where can we go from where I would like to go, or the company can go, and what can we do with PR? And a lot of time with PR is it's like it to get out into the world by using any sorts of media. So there's different campaigns, there's, the reporters, there's print, there's social media. But like in my bio, it's like that bridge. I love to, bring people's people's well messaging and what they really would like, what they are actually being and doing out in the world, right? And then bringing that out into the media where audience and people can actually see or what clients are doing. And so like a lot of my clients are real game changers that really know there is what they are actually doing and being is making a difference in the world. And so a part of what I do is really getting it out in the media where that exchange and engagement starts to occur.
Yeah, great. The I think the this world we live in with so many channels to getting to people and so many different ways of exposing, and getting that insight out, it does make it really overwhelming for all of us, because even myself, I've been kind of in this through my whole career in various ways, but I'm finding now there's just so many lanes, and everybody's talking about TikTok right now and saying, "Oh my God, you got to do this, you got to do this." And I find myself just overwhelmed at times with saying, "Wow, what is the right couple of pieces of strategy to take it and not chase the most current thing, but still, get the message out." So I know we're all overwhelmed in some ways with it.
I mean, there's so much noise. So I have a client called Angela, and she talks about, there is so much noise out there. So again, where there is so much noise, in the media, and the media is giving what their perception is, right? So the one thing that part being a publicist and a PR firm is really getting the message out the way that the client would really like to have, but make it to be clear and have clarity to go out, because there is so much noise out there. And with I don't with what's been going on, what people know, is it true, untrue, like, do you believe it or not to believe it? And we've talked about belief systems and like that. But in with PR, when you've got this message and you've got people that are truly making a difference, then the question, like for me, is having the questions where they can truly, where the client can really answer, and then have a discussion of where they are going with what they are doing in the world. if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Um, to kind of tag on to this part of the conversation, there was another comment question that you had brought up, which is, creating with other people in the earth and animals is, a passion of yours and is a focus, but that meshes so amazing with this PR track. But I want to hear a little bit more about your view of the creating with the universe and with animals and with people.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and especially I was and still probably am, was an animal communicator. So a lot of owners would actually come to me and we would do yoga, we'd do massage, we would really like talk to the animal through like energy and even communicate with the animals. And then with the earth, I mean, nature doesn't have right or wrong. It doesn't have points of views. It just lives. It just be. A tree just be. And so, for me, the earth is one of the greatest creation that I can be with. I know when I do get stressed, I can just go to the sea or go to the earth and just really know that the earth and the universe has got my back. No matter what's going on, it truly has my back. And I think, when you're creating with the universe, and the universe includes everything. I
Right.
think a lot of people don't realize that it includes the good and bad. Nature doesn't see right and wrong. Doesn't, a bird doesn't, I've heard this quoted so many times. A bird doesn't have a bad hairdo, like a bad day and things like that. So it's only us that has all these limiting points of view. So for me, it's like really creating with the earth really has no barriers and no walls. And animals can be the same too. And so that's what, nature is a great teacher to me. And I really learn so much of, when things that you think may not be happening, or it's not showing up the way you would like it, or something that you really do want in your life and it didn't work out, the nature just shows you just to be present and keep moving forward. And that's like we were talking about the shark. The shark never stops still. And so for me, I never stop still. Keep moving forward. Not looking at the past, but just moving forward. And so the earth just shows me life every day.
Yeah, no, it does. And um, being more in tune with nature, with the energy, with what's, really available to us all there has been one of my great joys over the last number of years, is really getting in touch with that. So I love it. And the communication with the animals and with, all the beings, it really is something that I've come to realize and to experience in some levels myself. And so it's exciting. There was a great movie we watched called Herd, where the lady has a horse ranch and she brings people there for healing. And it was really a spectacular experience watching the transformation that these people get from interacting with the energies of those amazing creatures. So it's really cool to hear you talk about it and experience that. The time always flies fast in these, but a couple things I love to ask is, number one is, if you were to have people take away one thing from today's 30 minutes with getting to know you, it's kind of a thought process I took away from everything from my early days of sitting in the Catholic Mass to growing up into meetings and seminars. If I'm going to devote an hour or half an hour, whatever it is, I always try to take away one thing that can help me impact, the way I operate on a day-to-day basis. So I love to ask the question, what's your one thing that you'd love people to take away?
Truly being you, and really taking 1 hour a day for you. And then one, really truly, that could be having a bath, could be having a conversation with yourself, reading a favorite book, or doing self development, but truly having that 1 hour and having that commitment, even if you've got children, a company, like really knowing that commitment to yourself and having commitment. And I think, the one thing, from 2013 to now, I had a lot of back doors. And I didn't realize even now, like in 2020, I had a lot of still back doors that I was using an excuse to check out from truly being committed to me and to my body and to my future and to my own reality, not anyone else's. And so all these back doors are all the excuses, limiting beliefs. So if you could take anything out of it, is really look at your back doors. How many back doors do you have? Because when you choose and you actually decide to really close all the back doors, then that's when the
Yeah.
more miracles and more things that more energy can come in, because all the back doors, all the energies are flowing out and like that, and that's where fatigue and heaviness and like that. But I really notice, and I'm still closing them, and I'm still, one of mine was, I'll be honest, was drama. I loved it. I love drama. And, being in Spain is a classic, suffering and trauma and drama and all that. And so when again, it's recognizing, oh, what is this going to create, this drama? So what other choices do I have? So closing that back door on drama, and then go, okay, what else? And that's where that creativity of me comes out, and like more of me. And that's what I love. Like I'm accessing more of me that I'm discovering. And, there's been some things that I have not liked, and then just being with it. And that's about being really quiet and just sitting with it and then moving forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating how the truly being you and taking that a 1 hour or, whatever that block of time is, it is the thing that we most easily give up. I've noticed, it's like, I'll do everything else, but I'll shortchange me
Yeah.
really easy. And it's something that I still am working on today. I want to be better at reserving that time, but then it's like you get busy and you constantly are shortchanging it. So it's a fascinating
Yeah.
thing to watch that play
And,
out.
and the more you commit to you, then the more you'll show up, and then things will work more. And so then you won't shortchange, and things will be more ease. And even when the hard times and difficult times come, you won't be running out of the back door like most of us. And I know, and I can say that because I've done it, because you're there. Even if it's most uncomfortable, you're there. You're not running anywhere. And then that's where more of you can access more of you, and you can show up more.
Yeah, great. So as we wind the show down, the question I always close with is a cauliflower moment. And it's a fun one. It can be fun, it can be serious, but it's really a moment where you stopped and realized that a belief that you were operating with was just fundamentally wrong and was leading you down the wrong road, or was not letting you have experiences that you could have had. And so I always like to ask and love to explore, what's a cauliflower moment that comes up for you when you think about that?
Well, I would say right now, the most recent one that has really come up was probably a week ago. Was something that I just wasn't giving up. And I was really looking at everything and just, I would not give up. And I kept going. I kept going. And so when I actually recognized that it wasn't going to go anywhere, I didn't make myself wrong. So what I actually did is notice that what I was making a wrongness, because I could have looked at it as a wrongness and it was bad because I just would not give up. I just wouldn't let go. I just kept like really like looking at what other possibilities. So I looked at it was a strongness and then went, well, what if I can put my attention on that strongness of never giving up, never quitting, to something that's going to create greater? And that was my awakening up. Because sometimes we think we've decided that, this is what I really wanted. This is where, and it was, a relationship, and it was heading that way for me. And then when I woke up that, it's not a wrongness, it's a strongness, I can put my attention to other things in the world and into my business. And that's what I did. And that's why it was really like it expanded me instead of making myself so wrong of not giving up and just keep like looking at, well, what else can we look at? Like, what else? Then go, okay, let's put my attention, but use that energy to even create something greater.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been choosing.
Yeah, you make a great point there on, this whole idea of the cauliflower moment that I really want to have resonate with people is that none of this is
No.
wrongness. It really is the beauty of it is that we all have had sets of experiences and we can help each other by elevating, hey, you know what? This belief and this experience that I got really didn't work out the way I had hoped. And I hope that by exposing it and by elevating it, it'll help you maybe potentially not have to go have those hard roads yourself. And it really is amazing how when you start to realize that, wow, this human experience is just full of it. And the more we can learn from each other, in some ways, I look at it. In fact, I made a comment last night. I said, this is really like going back to sitting down with the tribal elders, and they would pass on all of the truths and experiences that have been learned. And in some way, we lose all that nowadays because it's lost in the craziness of media, just like our current situation where you have no idea what's true. You can't tell right or wrong. You can't tell. Gosh, I read something about the vaccine yesterday from the head of the WHO, and she's saying, well, we don't know if the vaccine stops transmission. And you're like, what? What are we doing?
It's that craziness and insanity. And so, what I say to people, just really know, like, take everything on, like, not take it on and, like, oh, but take everything on, like, take everything and receive it. And then really know what is actually true for you. And I say what's true for you, like, like if it makes you really feel angry and sick and heavy, that may not actually, like resonate for you. But really, don't discard anything, positive or negative.
Right.
Just receive it. And that facial expression, it's really, like, especially with the news right now, with the pandemic and the fear, like a lot of media is fear-based. So you could really turn around the fear and really go through the fear or go beyond the fear. And I think that's a lot of times we have something, we go through something, and it's truly going beyond it. And I think with the pandemic, with everything, with media, we go beyond it and we create something completely different. And I would say that's what's going to occur from me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's what I'm
listen,
doing. That's what
yeah,
I'm doing with the PR company, creating something different with PR and going beyond what everyone else is actually doing with PR.
great. Well, listen, really appreciate your time today. How can people connect with you or reach out and talk PR with you?
So right now, anyone can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Inspire PR Media, Instagram's the same, Inspire PR Media. And LinkedIn is really the best place to find me right now. And reach out. I would love people to just reach out and just say hi.
Yeah. Well, great. And I'll include that in the show notes as well. Well,
Okay.
listen, have a nice evening in Spain and really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me on the show.